Welcome to the Stahls Heat Press for Profit podcast, a show designed for people who are trying to make it in their heat print hustle. I'm your host, Josh Ellsworth, and today I'm excited to welcome Aaron Montgomery and Todd Downing onto the episode. Todd is a self-made inspirational leader in the industry. Starting with a simple vinyl decal business in 2007, his business has grown to include eco-solvent printing, spangled transfers, and team sales. He's an online community mentor that strives to help others see how to improve their businesses forward in a realistic fashion. Now, Aaron has been in the garment decorating industry and personalization business since 2000. He speaks at trade shows and also writes articles for industry magazines and is dedicated to helping small businesses grow and succeed. You can find him co-hosting the industry's original podcast, Two Regular Guys, which I've been fortunate enough to be a guest on a couple times now. Aaron, Todd, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we appreciate you bringing us on.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to you guys today, and we're going to share some ideas with our listeners on how to make them more successful in their business. But first, before we get to all that, let's get a little bit more background on how you guys got into the industry, your actual business that you're doing now, and anything else you want to tell our listeners. Todd, let's start with you.
Well, like I said, my journey started back in 2007, 2008, right around there, just doing decals for race cars. That's what we kind of started with. Then when I moved into heat transfer, Josh may not know it, but he was one of the first people to help me out. He found him over on the t-shirt forums back in the day, and that's when I learned, hey, you can actually kind of make money off this, and just grew it from there, kind of as a little side hustle, and kind of took it full-time about 4 years ago. And for anybody that says, it's just kind of a side gig, there's not much you can do it. I mean, we can do six figures with just a heat press, no problem. And then from that, I got met up with Aaron at DAC's show last year, and I wanted to kind of get the message out there that, hey, when I started, that's where things were on forums, and it was tough press to find that good information for it. And I knew Aaron had, that great knowledge of how to get information out there. And hey, what can we do to help people realize that, they can do anything they want. They just have to have a good foundation for it, and, they can be successful with it. And it's kind of where this, our success group was born from. And so far, that's been the passion that I'm behind right now.
Awesome. Six figures with just a heat press. I love it. And believe it or not, I wrote that line about a half hour ago when I was submitting for a webinar for another opportunity. So
well, you can do it.
What timing. All right, Aaron, talk to us a little bit about your journey in the industry and also a little bit more on the Our Success Group initiative.
Yeah, definitely. My journey has been like you mentioned, back in 2000, I got into the industry. I was with a company called U.S. Screen Printing Institute, and so I've been involved in all sorts of fun things from the get-go of being involved. Everything from screen printing, color separation, screen printing class, and things like that, to getting into direct-to-garment printing, and learning a ton in that whole experience, from growing a business into a massive business to watching it fail because they didn't have a good handle on what their costs were, and then moved on from there to get involved with sublimation, heat transfer vinyl. Always just been a really cool industry. I've spent a lot of time traveling to shows and things over the course of my years in the industry, and my favorite part of all of this has always been just those conversations about what's going on, how businesses are doing, the opportunity to get back to the hotel lobby bar, and you're kind of unwinding, and you get to have that conversation with somebody about what they're doing, what their business is going on right now. Like you said, making $100,000 with a heat press, and I've heard that story so many times that it's been cool to kind of grow into that place of, with the Two Regular Guys podcast, being able to share more stories, talk to experts like Josh, just all of those really cool opportunities to share. So for me, it's always been about the community and kind of raising the tide of what's going on. And as Todd mentioned, when we had a chance to meet up, it was again another one of those just kind of side conversations. And he said, what his passion was helping people and being able to, share the knowledge that he had to learn the hard way in hopes that people could get to their idea of success faster. And, with some of my experience with the Two Regular Guys podcast and other things that I've been doing over the years, it just seemed like a natural fit to be able to start this group, our success group. And we launched back in January of 2020 here, and it's been awesome ever since. So we're looking forward to talking more about that.
Great. Well, I certainly am excited for our conversation today. I know in prepping for the show, you guys had a topic in mind that fits perfectly with our listeners, and that is 5 keys to launching or growing a business. And I don't know anybody that's in business that doesn't wish to grow their business, really, for the most part, unless you're winding it down into retirement and thinking about succession planning. But most businesses are looking to grow, and we're broadcasting here in April in the middle of forced closures and COVID-19, and so there are a lot of people thinking about how can I go at this on my own and start my own business. So I'm excited about that discussion topic today. So I guess you have 5 areas that you've identified that are keys to launching or growing a business. Can one of you first share those areas with us?
Yeah, I can take that. Really, like I said, we boiled these down to the 5 things we thought were important, using Todd's experience from growing his business and all the conversations that I've had here. So the first thing was just determining your overhead, understanding what it costs to just open your doors every day and to be able to make money there. So really getting a good handle on that. We jumped from that into then taking that information and being able to price your products. But we said price your products for profit, because all too often we see people that price their products because the guy up the street's doing this, or I read this on eBay or saw this on Etsy. So we wanted to talk to people about how they price their products to make a profit. Then the next step was, okay, now you've got some business. How do we manage that business in the most effective and organized way? So we titled that Workflow and Organization. From there, we've seen way too many companies kind of struggle with, okay, I'm done with the job. What do I do now? How do I get more business? So we talked about the delivery and follow-up as the 4th key there. And then finally, all businesses, no matter what you're doing, you have to have some marketing, understanding of marketing. And so what the 5th key was just kind of giving them a really nice foundation, a marketing overview. So those are the 5 keys as far as we're concerned to launching and growing your business.
Great. Yeah, that's great intel. So Todd, if you can take us back to your early days of in business, are those particular areas one more than the next that maybe you struggled with early on?
Oh, overhead for sure. Anybody, because the big thing is when you're just doing this out of your house, you don't assume you have overhead. And the more you start thinking about, well, last time I checked, I got a bill from the electric company and they want to get paid. So, that electricity came from somewhere. Your time is worth money. It's the one thing we can't buy. I can sub everything else out and I can buy everything else out, but I can't buy any more time. So you have to, value yourself in it. And if you're not doing that, that's when you start feeling overworked, underappreciated, and you start turning out bad products because you're just not making the money you thought you should have. And the main reason is because you didn't factor in what your overhead cost was. Whether you're, working out of your basement, your garage, or a storefront, there's overhead included in all of that. And that, I think, is probably the most important thing for anybody that's doing this at home, is to realize that, hey, you have overhead in this. Internet costs money, electricity costs money. You deserve a good wage. You need to be holding money back for equipment. So, determining your overhead, I feel, is probably one of the most important things that you have to know right off the bat.
Okay.
Yeah. And if I can just jump in there, Josh, the other part about that whole thing is, when you have to understand your overhead, again, if the idea is to grow, if you're not, like Todd said, thinking about the equipment you need to buy in the future, thinking about the growth and planning for that and paying yourself and doing all those other things, you're never going to be growing, because you're always going to be chasing just enough to cover your current expenses. So factoring in what we need to do in the future is a huge part of that.
So overhead kind of flows nicely into the next key, right? Because I imagine you can't really price a product and understand profit until you understand overhead. So they're very closely related. But let's say I have a good handle of what the market will bear for the product. How would somebody go about figuring out everything that goes into the bucket of overhead and how to really factor that in to their price equation?
Well, once you have your overhead figured out, you break it down to an hourly rate. This is what it costs to have my shop open whether I'm here or not. So for us, it's $125 an hour. Well, with that, just use easy math at 120. That means it's $2 a minute. So I can factor in that pricing. If something takes me 5 minutes to do, I need $10 of it just to cover my overhead. So that, right there, that gives you your strong foundation in it, because if you don't even have that and you're just doing the, well, here's my products, here's my materials times 3, if it doesn't cover that, then you're losing money right off the bat.
Yeah, it's good. And I love how you were able to boil it down to an hour and have such a simple equation for being able to calculate the cost of a particular project, even down to the minute or the per shirt level with how many minutes it takes. So that's really helpful for our listeners, because I know, what I've seen out there in the industry is definitely people don't value their time, and that puts a whole different value on the time. It's more than just paying yourself to make the product and the direct labor costs. It's factoring everything else that goes into keeping the lights on and having the business open. So that's great, guys. So let's talk about profit. So I know that that's the lifeblood of a business is profit, right? That's why most of us don't do this unless the category of your business is a nonprofit. It's to be able to turn out money in a particular business to pay the employees and to accomplish your goals in life. So when we talk about pricing, what should a business consider when they are pricing the product outside of cost?
Well, with that, Josh, you definitely want to, like you said, consider what the market will bear. And what we tried to show people was, if you understand your costs, if you know what it's going to take, and you've built in some to pay yourself and obviously to be able to grow and get that new piece of equipment, all the other stuff, that now you've got some levers to pull, so to speak. So if the market will bear this and your cost is this, what do we need to do? Do we need to be more efficient? Do we need to get better pricing on our product? Do we need to buy more at one time so our cost per piece comes down, or whatever those levers are? So you can look at things both ways. Or, okay, maybe the market will bear this, but maybe I need to add some additional value to that particular product because it costs me more than the market will bear to be able to bring that product to market. So I have to get creative with the value that I provide. Is there some additional service that I can do? Maybe that's packaging. Maybe that's helping them with, let's say you're doing a 5K. A shirt is going to be a shirt is going to be a shirt, but can you help them, put those shirts into the goodie bag that they give out? Can you, whatever the additional value add stuff is there. So that's really, where that profit comes in. And I also thought it was interesting. You said, unless you're a nonprofit, but most of the nonprofits I see, the people that are running those actually get paid more than a lot of people that are in profit businesses, because the people that are in profit businesses aren't paying themselves. So, again, it all comes back to that whole understanding of what you've got there as far as your costs and what you need to make. But then again, going and trying to pull those levers of saying, okay, the market will bear this. Can I either get more for this, or can I reduce my price, become more organized, efficient, those kinds of things? So to me, that's how the whole profit thing works into this. How do you figure out which way to go?
Yeah, and on my side, looking at it too, what the market can, will bear for something doesn't necessarily mean, that that's what I can bear for it. I see people, let's use, an all-over print shirt for sublimation. $35-$40 is where you're seeing it at. And I'm seeing people that are, using, a 15 by 15 press, and they're printing out, 8 sheets of sublimation paper, and they're trying to line everything up and do it. And by the time they have everything in it, they've got, a half hour to an hour in pressing one shirt. There's no way that they can sell that for that and make any money, but they assume, hey, it's just my time, it's just labor, I can sell it for this and make money, until they get that 100 shirt order and realize that, hey, I just can't get this done in time. So, it's really valuing your time and if that product is worth doing, because not every product is worth doing for every person. And there's nothing wrong with saying no to a job or finding somebody that'll do it cheaper and subbing it out to them and make a little money on the side that way. You don't have to take every job that comes in. And I think a lot of new people when they're getting started, that's what they think has to happen is I can't say no. And when you do that one too many times, you start to get yourself in trouble if you say yes every time to things that you don't know how to do.
Yeah, that's a good point. Actually, it makes me think of probably in the early 2000s, Aaron, there was a big push in the industry, and I probably for the better part of a decade, to become a one-stop shop. And you would see apparel decorators going to trade shows and articles written in publications, and we probably penned some of them, right? But there was this big idea of we need to have everything, and we need to be able to sell everything to people that walk in the door. Otherwise, they're going to walk down the street, and potentially I lose that customer altogether for somebody else. So Todd brings up a good point about you can be a one-stop shop, but maybe you can job out or broker out, contract out some of the work. What have you seen in your experience with decorators here in 2020? Or are we seeing still the trend towards one-stop shop, or is there another way forward to profit?
Yeah,
well, I think. You want to take it, Aaron? Or you want me to go?
Go ahead, Todd.
Okay. So on my side, I see people still wanting to think that they need to do everything. And like I said, looking back on this, if I had to start everything over again, I would just do sales. Let somebody else have the hassle of making everything. The mistakes, the machine not doing something right, the print coming out wrong. I don't care. Let me hit the button, order it, and let it show up just the way I ordered, and go on from there. There's no reason that somebody needs to go out and drop a ton of money on equipment that they're not already producing products with. I mean, if you're subbing out a bunch of stuff, a bunch of printed things, and so you think, yep, I should get a VersaCam because I'm subbing this out, I can make money off it. The numbers don't lie. They tell you if you can afford to have something, and if you should have something. For us, when we got ours, we knew at that point we were subbing out enough that it would cover a payment of one. So, yep, let's go ahead and get it. But up until then, I subbed it out. I'll sub everything out as far as I can, because not only when you bring a new piece of equipment on, now can you offer something, but most times here's a new software to learn. Here's another thing that you have to have problems with, or issues that you need to figure out. And if I made a focus circle a couple weeks back in one of our chats, and it was, if you take that circle, and you have your 100% focus on HTV, and this is what I'm going to do, and now you add, say embroidery to it. Your circle is only so big, so if that's 100% focus, and now you have two things in there, it's 50% each. Now start adding more things. You're just cutting that back. So, if you can be great at something and it's self-sufficient, and then you're able to add something, go for it. But I mean, I'd rather be great at one thing than okay at a bunch of things.
Yeah, I agree with what you said, Josh. I do remember probably writing or even speaking a few times about you need to be able to do everything and be everything to everybody. And I remember probably, like you said, right after we got started with Two Regularized podcast, which has been about 8 years ago now, having a conversation with a guy that was a screen printer, and he was just hardcore adamant about the fact that he was going to be a screen printer, and that's all he was doing, is turning everything else away. Like Todd said, I kind of thought to myself, well, he should be farming that out, but his whole intention was, I'm going to be the very best at what I'm doing, and I'm going to focus completely on being the very best at what I'm doing. And therefore, that way I can attract more business to me without having to do so much marketing and pounding the pavement, because people are going to seek me out as the very best. And so that really hit home for me, is, like Todd said, that focus. And, you don't have to necessarily turn it away, but there's lots of opportunities out there to work with somebody else, co-opetition, different things like that you can do, especially as you're starting up. A lot of the people that I've seen really struggle, they do go and just overextend themselves. They go, okay, well, this guy wanted this, so I need to try to learn this really quick, but they never put in enough time to really do it well. And I really don't have enough money because I've spent money on all these different little toys and tools, that I don't have enough money to get a good heat press. And so I'm struggling with, my stuff's washing out and all that other things like that. So yeah, I agree that we need to be really good at what we're doing, get the best tools you can get within those things, and then just focus on being the best and let it come to you.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so this helps me transition nicely. So far, for our listeners following along, 5 of the keys to launching or growing a business that we've been talking through, we've covered 2. It's determining overhead and pricing products for profit, and went to a little bit of depth there. And then we've kind of started to talk a bit around the marketing side. So what I've started to see, and you're probably right, around 2012 or so, or late, like 2009, something happened, and it was called YouTube, and then it was called Google advertising and targeted advertising through keywords, and now Facebook even deeper. And so there's a new way, rather than being a generalist and saying if you build it they will come and I'm going to invest in all the equipment and try to be everything to everybody. You can now get so focused and go out and find the type of business that fits in your shop with a good marketing plan. So I'm anxious to hear you guys' experience on a good marketing overview being a key to growing or launching a successful apparel decorating business.
You want to
Todd, you want to take that one first?
Yeah, I've never had two guests on before, so this is my maiden voyage. So I probably should direct these questions. So
yeah, I'm like, well, I'll take this. For me, it's now more than ever, it's so simple to advertise. You can get online and you can create an ad within minutes. I'm not sending something to my media guy who's either in radio or TV or print, and I'm waiting to get things submitted, and I'm waiting for proofs, and I'm waiting to even know if I'm getting a return. You just don't know. There's no real way to track it unless you have a separate number, separate website, that's directing things there to know that that's where that information's coming from. But that same money that you're paying for that, which is ridiculous amounts. The last two people that I've had come in for into our store that's wanted to sell us media ads, I think I've sold them on why they should quit their job and just sell digital ads, because the amount is completely different. If I want to target that 40-year-old person that's in 5 miles of my store, I'm able to do that with Facebook ads, Instagram ads, YouTube ads. I'm able to key in who I want to see and who I don't want to see my ad. So if I don't want a particular outside of area or something like that where it's just nobody's going to come to it, I can do that. And it's easier now than ever to just do that, to get your ads out there and get in front of people. And even with Facebook, it's free. You can set up a free business page and you can just market from there. A lot of people think you got to have some crazy programming degree and they don't know what they're doing. No, find a 12-year-old and they'll set you up on a page and you're ready to go.
Yeah, so I agree with that too, that, find a 12-year-old. I love that one, Todd. But, the other part about the whole marketing overview is, like Todd said, not only is it easier than ever to market and see return and, your return on investment and all that stuff, like almost instantly with some of these tools that you mentioned from Google AdWords and all that other stuff, but you also can make all this stuff work together, from that person checks out something on your website. Well, you can do things where that's then retargeted. So now they're going to continue to see you in front of them every time they go somewhere on the internet. And, the studies have shown that it takes people 7 to 9 touches with a product before they make a purchasing decision. So nowadays you can automate all that, but you have to understand how all those things work together. So if you need 7 to 9 touches to get somebody to purchase something, how do you use that all together, from your Facebook ads to your Google AdWords to your email marketing campaigns? And, we even talk about setting up word of mouth campaigns and letting your customers be your best salespeople. So again, you don't have to be the marketing expert, but every business owner has to have a good understanding of what the marketing is out there and what they want their strategy to be, so that way, when they're ready to go into this, even if they're going to get somebody else to help them with that, just having that good foundation of understanding. Like Josh says, things changed pretty drastically about 10 years ago or so, where it went from this, blow it out there to everybody to okay, let's get in front of just the right people at just the right time, just the right amount of time. So marketing is hugely key to growing or launching a business.
Great. And I know we're just scratching the surface, guys. So if our listeners, we're about halfway through the show, want to tap into you and what you have going on and be able to ask questions and dive deeper into these keys to success, as well as all the other content and help that you share, how can they do that?
Well, you can couple of different ways. Both Todd and I are pretty active on Facebook, so you can find us on there on all sorts of different places. But the other way is you can catch us through email if you want to ask us questions. We're very responsive. We want to, again, we have a very specific goal in mind for this business, for oursuccessgroup.com, and that is to help over 1,000 businesses this year get to their idea of success. And that is our complete focus. So if you want to email us, it's success@oursuccessgroup.com, or you can check out our website over at oursuccessgroup.com. You want to know more about these 5 keys, it's oursuccessgroup.com/5keys. But again, we want to see people be successful. It checks boxes for me and for Todd. So we're excited to help any way we can.
Yeah, and you can, as of last night, liveosg.com, they're able to find us there on YouTube too. So we're right now we're trying, just like everybody else, to put as much content out there. So we've got a nice Q&A with TNA that we try and put out a couple times a week. I think we're up to 4 or 5 times a week that we put that out there. And hey, it doesn't have to be always business questions. And I think that's where we become a lot more relatable with people. Where, here, what do you have on your mind? I've been there through just about every problem that somebody's had, so I'm really easy and understanding with it. My biggest thing is when somebody says, "Hey, thank you," that really helped me get through that, and that's where I feel I've really felt rewarded in this, is that just getting that thank you out of the blue of something that we did a month ago or a week ago. Any of those, it's a good feeling to have.
Great. So we're in April at the time of this interview, and this episode will probably publish later this month when people will be listening it towards the end of April. So you probably talked to at least a couple hundred businesses already and helped them along the journey, at least, so they can be able to say that they've succeeded. So what are some of the mistakes that you've seen businesses make as they're in that startup mode in particular?
Yeah, on mine, like I said, it's just not knowing their numbers. That seems to be the biggest one, or the ones that, especially on sublimation, not realizing that if you've never done it before and you're going to buy a mug and you think you're going to sell it, you need to buy a couple, dozen cases of those mugs, because it's a learning process. People see something, assume, yep, that's quick, simple, easy, I can go ahead and do that. And then they get it and they get frustrated with it because it wasn't like they saw in the video, or when they didn't see, how Josh had set in one of his videos today. Mine didn't turn out the same way. You got to practice that stuff. Not every press is the same. Not every condition is the same. So, you got to know your machine. You've got to know your products. You've got to know the materials you're putting on, what goes on where. And you just got to you got to put in the time to make sure that you're doing everything correctly. Otherwise, what's going to happen is you're going to turn out a poor quality product, which in the end is not good for your customers and not good for you.
Yeah, good point. Aaron, any other mistakes that you've seen outside of technical sort of how to print and really not putting in the practice? Sure.
Yeah, I agree with those completely as well. I definitely realize that there is a learning curve, and but the coolest part about right now is that there is so much great content out there. All this, heck, you could start a business just watching what Josh has done over the years. So there's plenty of help out there for you. You just got to look for it and realize that there is going to be a learning curve. But I think the biggest mistake that I've seen people make is, and Todd and I talked about this lots of times, is just believing in yourself, understanding that, there are going to be some difficult times. There are going to be some challenges, but there's also going to be plenty of rewards, and you can do whatever you want to do. You just have to put your mind to it. You have to invest in yourself. You have to be able to, don't worry about the naysayers. If somebody's not there to support you, then just move on, because there's probably 5 other people that are more than happy to support what you're doing. And so I think that's the biggest mistake I see people make, is they just give up too soon. It's too hard. I can't do it. Absolutely you can. I've seen lots and lots of people do it with much worse circumstances. So just keep going. Keep moving forward.
Yeah, you got to have that mindset and be self-motivated and really committed. And I think you're right. It starts with having a good plan, an idea of what areas I need to be focused on. And you guys have put it really clearly with these 5 keys, where if I focus on these things and I get these things in order in a good way, then my likelihood of success is much greater than if I just went at it scattershot. So I'm excited to dive into our last 2 that we have here. So the third one that you had outlined, and it'll be the 4th for us since I couldn't wait to get to marketing, since sales and marketing is my thing, is workflow and organization. Nobody likes that stuff, do they?
I think they do once they have it figured out. A lot, I think the sooner that you start realizing that you're a business and you kind of need to have some kind of workflow or organizations, it kind of makes things a lot easier for you. And with us, we've developed a few different situations or tools that will help you do that. And once you have it down, you're like, oh, well, why didn't I do this from the beginning? It wasn't as hard as what I thought, because I know what everybody's doing. If you don't have this in order, and you can, I know you're listening, you can raise your hand because I was there too. How many have that notebook right there with everything written in it? And you just keep adding to it, and there's no real flow to it. It's just today's orders for this. You don't put them in a column of this goes here, this is the product, this is where we are on the workflow chart. Nope, you just keep writing it down there, and then 3-4 days from now you're flumming back through it trying to find where an order was or what it, we were all there. That was what we thought we were doing good. And then once you start finding other ways to do things and seeing how simple it is to do it, and you can do this, a lot of the things that we talk about, like I said, you don't need a shop. If you've got one of the girls that we're working with, she was able to create her workflow thing on, with some index cards. It just made the process easier for her, and it works great for her. And so that's where you're able to take these ideas and put them into effect in your way. That's going to make the easiest for you to understand. Because at the end of the day, if you don't understand it, it doesn't matter if anybody else does. So it's getting you into that mindset of, hey, once I have this, it's just going to make things simpler for me to be organized, to have good workflow down, and just follow the process through. And it does. It frees up more time than anything, because once you have that system in place, we all know what, the one thing we can't buy is time, and now you're saving it.
Yeah. And I'm right there with you, Josh. I'm not sure I really care for that stuff, but I understand that having a good workflow, having a good organization, like we talked about a little bit earlier, to me, that's just one of the levers that you can pull in your business. And if you have better workflow, you have better organization, you're not having to, overnight that vinyl in because you forgot to order it. And you're not having to reprint shirts because you didn't have them signed off on. That's all additional profit that goes into your pocket. So to me, yeah, it's kind of a necessary evil. I guess it's probably a sales and marketing guy's view on it, but but I think it's super important to take the time to actually get that process down, get it into something, like Todd says, that works for you. I've seen people use really sophisticated software kind of programs, or like an Asana board, but then pegboards or whatever it is that's going to work for you. The index cards, like Todd mentioned. But just take the time to get that down, because that time that you invest doing that part of your business will reap massive rewards down the road.
Yeah, I spoke to a decorator that was wanting, well, of course, every decorator, as I mentioned, wants to grow their business, but this decorator was just like, man, I'm at that point where I would really like to take it to the next level and hire. And the first question was, do you have your processes documented? No. Well, that may make it tough to hire and train somebody, and you may waste a lot of money if you're not at that stage with understanding what tasks you want them to complete and having a workflow in place. So I joke about it. I bought a graph paper notebook instead of regular line paper. I thought that would help me, but I'm still just as disorganized in my thoughts as ever. But for a shop, it's certainly important. I'm there. Okay, and then delivery and follow-up, and you've kind of grouped this together. And so I'm anxious to hear specifically about the delivery side of that component. On what do you see about delivery that is so important for a business that wants to grow?
Yeah, I'll jump in there first, because I have seen this from a sales and marketing guy kind of perspective as probably the most disregarded part of the sales process. Underutilized. Thank you very much. Underutilized is the perfect way to say that, because honestly, you should still be selling at this point. So you've got the order in. You work really hard to get it out and do really well, and then most people just kind of like boom, moving on to the next one. But honestly, you can reap the most benefits from this back end part of it, from making that experience different than anybody else is going to be able to do for them, because it's coming from you. So the delivery part, just getting it right, taking some time to, make sure that the packaging is decent, or like I said, where can you add value to to that service that you're providing. So you may be making shirts, but you're really providing a service. They could go buy a blank shirt. You're providing the service of decorating that shirt, making it personal. So how can you add even more to that with the delivery part of it? So again, it could be, instead of just kind of, wadding them up and throwing them in a box, maybe you're folding and bagging each one of them individually. So just going that little extra mile that doesn't add a whole bunch of cost to it, but adds a ton of perceived value to the product, can be a huge marketing and sales opportunity for you. And then from there, you're going to, continue that on, because it's so much easier to grow your business by getting repeat business as opposed to growing your business through getting new business all the time. So the delivery and follow-up phase really makes that repeat business so much easier for you to do.
Yeah, elevating that experience, if you can do that and, like you're saying, increase the value, it really will help with the reorder and the loyalty. And I like thinking about those details, because you're right, that the details is where I think a decorator can stand out from their competition. And if you take the time to do some white glove service, whatever you define that as for your product, that can be a big benefit and make you stand out. It's probably the best marketing you can do to an existing customer.
Yeah, and with that, I've ran into people where I can't afford to do that. I can't afford to have the nice bag, or to put the custom bags, or to put those touches on it. You can if you price your things right. If you build this into your pricing, you're going to cover it. And it can be something as simple as just, handwritten thank you notes. That goes a long way today. So, it doesn't always have to be about, the biggest, coolest gadget that you can put in there. You did a great order and now you had something in there. Sometimes it's just as simple as just that little thank you, and just calling them afterwards. Hey, was everything good with it? Because as much as everything is digital, and now, with everything that's going on, where we have our social distancing and that, more and more people, you're going to talk to them on the phone. You're not going to see them. So it's staying in front of them, talking to them, being on my side. Any of my customer, I don't look at them as a sale. I'm always looking at them as, hey, they are a customer. That's how I want to be. I'm going to treat them how I want to be treated. I don't want to just be a number. I want to know that if I have an issue, that something's going to be taken care of. If I need some help, it's there. And I want my customers to feel that same way too. I want to build that relationship, because that shirt, that one birthday shirt that you did today, you never know. Somebody at that birthday party could see that, and they could have a 500 shirt order for you coming up. It's happened to us, and that's why you always treat everybody the same. To deliver that same quality, that whether it's 1 or 500, and the things will, just come back to you.
Yeah, in my experience, this is actually one of the biggest areas where a small business can differentiate from a large business. The large business, whether it's an internet retailer or a big brand that competes with the small decorator for sales, they may have a cool box that has their brand on the outside of it, but at the end of the day, you're not going to get a handwritten note from somebody that knows your name. So I would encourage those listening to think about what's different about your business that you can do as part of this process with delivery and follow-up to stand out from the competitors that wouldn't only be other small businesses, but really larger brands that can probably beat you on price. You don't always need to win on price. You can win on personalized service, which is great. Anything else you guys want to add there on the delivery and follow-up element? I kind of missed the follow-up.
It's that same thing. It's following up with them. How many times especially when you're working out of your house and that, you take the order as it comes in, but do you really ever follow up with them? Hey, was everything good with it? Did you like how it turned out? Was there anything more I could do for you? Anything else coming up? I mean, especially on stuff like birthday shirts or reunions or softball mom and that, is there other sports that we can help you with? Is there other things that we can do for you to, help make you stand out? Make it about them. Hey, did you get compliments on that shirt? Well, hey, what do you think about trying this or trying that? We've got this new product, and I think it'd be a great thing to try on this next shirt for you. It's selling without selling. It's making them feel like they're not buying. Because it'll get to a point where you'll tell them, hey, I got this, and just do it. Just go ahead and do it, because they trust what you're doing, and they know that you're going to give them a quality product.
Yeah, and I agree on the follow-up side too. Like Todd said, you're building that relationship. You're making them get to that level of trust where it's just like, I need something. I don't know what it is, but I know Todd's going to figure it out for me. So I'm just going to call him up and say, Todd, I need 20 of these, figure it out, get it done. I don't care what the price is, kind of thing. But what that's really doing, though, is that's creating also, when you build that trust, that's also creating that word of mouth that is so important in today's social proof world. Is that, most of the time we make our buying decisions based off of what our friends and family are saying to us. We probably don't really go do much research on the people we're buying from. We want to see that 5-star review, and we want to see that, my good friend Todd here, he says that company is great to do business with, so I'm going to trust that. And this follow-up part is really kind of building that part of it. So you're reaching out to them, you're telling them that you care about why they came to you, and then putting it back on them to be able to go, cool, I feel like this person really cares about me, which you do. But what happens, like Todd says, most of the time, though, you're moving on to the next project. And so while you do care about them, they don't know that. And so that's what the follow-up part is all about, is just kind of giving them that customer experience that, like you said, you're not going to get. I've never had Amazon call and follow up with me about the toilet paper that cost me $150. It just it doesn't happen. So differentiate yourself by, showing that you really care.
Yeah, communication's important for sure. So you could have the best intentions in the world, but you need to be able to communicate those. So, there's a lot packed into these 5 keys. I appreciate you guys coming on and sharing those. So one of the questions I have is, how detailed does a business really have to be with these fundamentals in your mind for them to be successful?
Todd, go ahead.
Okay. Well, for me, I think you have to be, because these are, think if you're building a house and you don't have, a good foundation on it, if it's an okay one, the more you add on top of that foundation, better chance it's all have of coming crumbling down on you. If you don't know your overhead, how can you price anything? If you can't price it for profit, how can you make money? If you can't keep track of things, then you lose stuff, you don't know where it's at, you're losing money. If you're not delivering or following up with them, are you going to get those, that reoccurring sale? Are you even going to get a sale from them ever again? And if you don't have any marketing behind you, how are you going to get your message out? So all of these, we put a lot of thought into, here anybody that can take this and be able to build a business off it. And the great thing about it is it doesn't matter what business you're in, whether it's embroidery, heat transfer vinyl, sublimation, wide format printing, mowing grasses, cutting hair. It doesn't matter, because these are all, keys to help any business succeed. And it's just, you just got to put in the work. That's the biggest thing that I think I've seen is, when people say, well, this isn't working for me, and then you start asking questions, and, oh no, I haven't tried that. Oh no, I didn't do that. I didn't think it was right for me. I just wasn't sure on that. Well, I'm telling you, after years of experience on both Aaron and my end, this is what we decided, made the most sense. These are the things that are going to help people, succeed. So you got to follow through with them. You can't just pick and choose. You kind of need that whole, that whole thing. It's almost like if you have a glove that you're trying to catch something in. You need all those fingers there to be able to catch that good. Yeah, you can probably do it 3 fingers on that, but can you do it as well with 5? So all parts of it really matter to it.
Yeah, and the other part about that is the like Todd said, the ability to have that really solid foundation. And as small business owners, you're wearing a lot of hats. You're taking out the garbage, you're doing the accounting, you're making the product, you're all of those things. And we don't take the time to work on the business, to really kind of get these foundation pieces in place. And those are the people that really struggle, because they're just trying to juggle from one day to the next. So you just have to find time to work on these 5 keys, or you just work on your business. You get stuck working in your business too much. And, unfortunately right now you're seeing the people that are struggling through the COVID pandemic and whatnot. Unfortunately, those are the folks that just are kind of trying to figure it out still. They haven't spent the time to get a foundation underneath them, because I've seen other people, kind of thrive a little bit even, they've kind of risen to the occasion and they're able to help and do more. And, you can clearly tell that those are the people that had a foundation. They understand that, if I need to sell a face mask right now, how much is that going to cost me? So, I at least need to break even here to keep my doors open. So, they get it figured out and they're able to give back. And, Todd's got a program going right now where he's giving a company $10 of his profit. Well, he wouldn't be able to do that if he didn't know what his costs were involved in that. So just having that foundation is so important, and it is really the key to success.
Awesome. So beyond these foundations, I know you guys talk to a ton of businesses. What else do you see that businesses aren't embracing enough that you would feel is important?
Well, I think one of the things is, it's in fact our next 5 keys, which is starting up on April 29th, I do believe, is a business plan. For me, I always thought it was, this big scary novel coffee book table that, here I drop this down and have no clue what it really does. I just know I have it. And after talking with Aaron, a year or so ago about it, and he kind of had a program that was there and went through it, I'm like, this is not nearly as complicated as what I thought it was, because I was running blind for, 10 years, where it was just like, yeah, I think this is right. Yeah, sure, this makes sense. I knew the numbers, I knew that, but I didn't really have that plan of where to go and what I needed to do in the future and what I saw. And Aaron had a great system there, so we've kind of refined that, and that's the next one. So I'm really excited about getting that out there for people.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's really actually why it shook out that way, Josh, was that, okay, here's some real core parts, core things that you have to have. And so now that you got that, now, yes, like you said, let's build that into our business plan, because that next step, and like Todd said, a business plan is not that big, scary coffee book kind of thing. What it is it's just a reference point that you can go back to that allows you to go, okay, I need to make a fast decision right now because my world just got flipped upside down. And if I can't make a fast decision right now, I'm going to fail. Well, if you don't have a business plan in place, you're not going to have the information in front of you. You're not going to have that guardrail, or Todd's got a great analogy of it. It's like the rails that a roller coaster runs on. You got to have something kind of holding you in place. Yes, it's going to be ups and downs and spinning around, but the business plan to me is really that thing that holds you in place, the guardrails that keep you heading in the right direction. And when you do have to make that quick decision, you go, yep, this is what the plan is. We're going to stick with it. And yes, you can pivot and move a little bit, but if you got to keep the ship going in one direction, so to speak. So, that's the next part is the business plan. And, but just, I guess to my point before that though, just investing in working on the business, whether that's time, whether that's money, there's some fantastic education out there. But you have to actually put that into use. So, it's one thing to go and show up for, a 5 keys or training that you're doing here within what you guys do at Stahls, Josh, but then to take that information and actually do something with it and be accountable to taking action from that, that's where I see a lot of people failing, is they go, okay, well, I've been waiting for this magic bullet. Well, all the information's there. Now you just have to take it and do something with it.
I've seen a lot, especially here in the last month. Here in Illinois, we've been on lockdown since middle of March. So we've been in it a month now, and so we're starting to kind of see the new norm is how things go, and a lot more of Zoom training. And what's really throwing me off is I'm seeing people that are paying for Zoom training, and here's this. There's maybe 20, 30 people on a call, and the presenter's doing a great job at it, and you can see the other people on there. And I see the people who are just laying on their couch and just, eating a bag of chips while this is going on. And I'm thinking, okay, this is somebody who paid money for training, and it's like they don't even care. It's completely mind-boggling to me. I don't get, why you're going to pay for something but not pay attention to it. It's, it really comes down to you. You're going to be the deciding factor in all this. I could give you the perfect business plan, the perfect, for everything, best equipment, best marketing budget, give you everything. But if you don't have that drive and you don't have that, I'm going to do this, then it's just going to, not work out for you. So a lot of this comes down to you and putting in the work and knowing that you can do it.
Yeah, I think even the work on thinking through it, right, and developing it yourself, because unless you think it, put it on paper and come up with it, odds are you're not going to have the same belief in it and be able to execute it like you're going to need to, and use it as those guardrails or that track for the roller coaster that's going to hold you in place even when you start to have that doubt creep in, or a circumstance creep in that challenges your business. And I'm just curious, as part of the process, do you guys review business plans for apparel decorators? Do you get to see them?
Yes, I've actually had an opportunity to see lots of them, that is part of the process. In fact, that's kind of where we see our success group heading, is kind of some mastermind type groups and things like that. So again, we just trying to, we've got our business plan in place, which is wrapped around our why, our goal of helping 1,000 businesses to their idea of success. And so, yeah, we are able to make a fast decision. And so that's what we're trying to get people to when we're reviewing their business plan with them. It's like, okay, cool. This sounds great, but this doesn't really seem to connect with you. We've had an opportunity to talk to you now. So yes, that's what I really love doing, is just, being a problem solver myself. I want to see what people are faced with and be able to help them get to that point.
Right. And I think one of the things that I've seen nicely is that, having that extra set of eyes, hey, can you look at this for me? Because, a lot of times people will get in those relationships with other people where they just, tell them what they think they need to hear. Oh yeah, that sounds great. You can do it. That's what you want to do. And us having that, that third-party set of eyes, kind of like, really? Does that really make sense? Think about this. What is this really costing you? Do you think, that you should really get this, to kind of actually get them to realize, like you said earlier, putting something down on paper. I can tell you to my face in the blue that it's a dumb idea to get this when you have no experience doing it, and it's going to cost way too much money, and the profit margin that is built into this is just garbage. But until you believe it in yourself, then you're not going to do it. One of the things that even for Aaron and myself, when we were starting this off, he was doing a lot of the website building of what we were having and going through it. And I'm like, is this really worth it for the amount of time that you have in it? Should we just have somebody take care of it? And after looking at it and what we saw the future being, it made way more sense to, spend, more than we were spending less than what it would have cost us in time. And at the end of the day, time is the one thing we can't buy. So yeah, it made sense to spend the money and have somebody else build out the website for us, because while they're doing that, which we would be doing that time, we're able to focus on other things. So it's not always, it's about just having somebody else do it. It's about what else can you get accomplished while somebody else is doing that project.
Yeah, working smarter, not necessarily always harder.
Work smarter and harder. Work smarter and harder, and that's how you do it, because you're able to. So you're doing smarter by having somebody else, but now you can work harder on that other project and get that done. So a lot of times you can have, 5 projects going on when you're subbing things out. Before you can only have one. So it's doing a lot of soul searching yourself on do you have what it takes to do this? Because not everybody is built or made to build a business, and not everybody needs to have that that $100,000, that $1 million business. Some people are happy making that extra 10 or 15 grand a year just to get them through, and here's my vacation money in that. And that's what we really wanted people to understand, is just because you had $5,000 in sales doesn't mean you're not successful. You sold stuff. People were happy with what you bought. They came back and bought from you again. Of course you're successful. It's what your idea of success was, and that's what we want to help everybody accomplish.
Good. Great stuff, Todd. Thank you. I just have one side question for you. It's sort of related, Todd, but I'm just curious, because you've been running the shop since 2007. What is your most profitable piece of equipment that you have in your shop by your estimation?
My heat press. I mean, when you think about it, the most profitable is the heat press. It costs us little under $2,000. For the Stahls autoclam 16x20. And that thing is a workhorse. When it comes down to production, that thing is going to perform day in, day out. It does what it's made to do. And that's why you're going to invest in the equipment that really is there for it. Now, besides that, because that was probably, like I said, the best. You can buy some stuff off Amazon that might catch your house on fire. I wouldn't suggest using that, for as long as you can, but save up your money and buy that good heat press. After that, would be my Versacam. We subbed it out for years, and then once we realized here we had enough coming in for it, it just opened up a whole new ball game for us. That first one that we had was paid off in 3 months, and that was a 30-inch one, and then we realized we couldn't do the banners that we wanted, and they always say, go as big as you can afford, and I was skeptical about that. I didn't think it was the smartest idea. Yeah, so within that first year, we went ahead and bought the 54-inch because that was definitely what was needed, and media is cheaper because of that 54-inch wide. You're getting just better deals on stuff, but yeah, and we've all had those things along the way that we bought that were our dumbest things. And mine, I have no, and that's the great thing about me is I've been there, I've done it. I've made tons of bad decisions, based on, hey, I think I can make money at this. The numbers work out good. Let's go ahead and do it. Here's a plan for it. Then I realized that, being a one person, and now, I have the wife involved in this, so we're just a two-person shop. I don't have a whole lot of time, so you got to really think the more things you bring in is the more time. But I totally went all in on sand carving and bought the stuff I needed for it. And yeah, I didn't honestly realize how much time it was going to take me to do it. And that can be a whole business on its own, and I'll never get rid of it. It'll always stay in there and stare at me every time I walk out of the shop, to know that I really need to think about, making purchases like that again. So I've been there, done it. I think that's part of the fun of me is, yeah, if you've been there, I've been there too. And I'll have a beer with you over it, telling you, yep, I was there too.
All right, well, I appreciate that feedback. So one part that I like to do before we close off the show is kind of open it up to you guys. I've been asking you lots of questions, and see if you have any questions at all for me that I can answer.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I've got one for you, then I'll start.
All right.
Josh, this the Spirit sale, the shops that you guys are doing, this program that you guys have going right now to help people out, that's amazing. How the heck are you guys pulling that off?
Sunk cost. So, yeah, so we spent the better part of 18 months, I should say, actively developing it. Prior to that, it was a great idea of one of our folks internally that was a skunkworks type project. But we did about 18 months of really intentional development to bring it out to revenue generating for us, with the idea that we had to be in the game for web stores because we saw it as such a critical component for our customers with heat presses to succeed. And we noticed that the large customers could afford the solutions that were in the market, but we needed something for the really small to mid-sized business that couldn't afford those solutions. So we really developed with that customer in mind. And then we got to revenue on it. We tried to price it really affordably because our model is that if we make our customers successful, they'll buy more product from us. It's worked for us for 80 years. And so we figure we'll drive the vinyl business and the transfer business just by equipping our customers with a better tool. And so we did that, but we're like, you know what? We can't afford to train everybody on this, and so we can't just give it away for free like we have done with our CADWorks design software. We need to collect some revenue to fund future development and maintain the pace we want to. So we said $600 a year, that's it. Then COVID-19 hit, and we're like, people aren't going to want to spend $600 a year. Our model was for people to pay up front because we wanted them to be committed to the solution like we were committed to supporting them. And so we had tons of subscribers at that point already on board, but we made a decision to pitch in and give 3 months free to anybody that was new on, to basically try it and then either buy or cancel. And we're really investing a ton of energy in keeping people staffed, training and doing things like that to make sure the people that do sign on have the best possible chance of success. And we're really banking on the fact that 90 days from the time you start your trial, we're gonna show you how valuable it is, and you're gonna be okay paying the $600. So that's our bet.
Cool, love it.
Ooh, that's a good one. I can tell you what I'd like to be doing. That's not necessarily what I would be doing because I don't think I could afford to. But I have a love for basketball, so my dream has always been to either build a gym or outdoor basketball courts and coach, basically run basketball tournaments and training and those sorts of things and coach. And then, of course, now that I have a daughter who doesn't like basketball, I've tried. She likes dance and those sorts of things. Of course, it would also house dance training as well as a basketball training facility. So I think that would be a dream, and that would be fun. That's probably more of a retirement goal for me at this point.
Nice. Well, when you get that, I'll bring some volleyball in there, Josh, and Todd will bring some baseball, and we'll have a heck of a sports complex.
Hey, we could franchise this thing, guys. I think we just came up with the next big idea, right?
Yep. Let's get that business plan in the works right now.
All right. I have a feeling there's a lot of overhead, though. I'm a little worried about that.
That's the thing is, I don't know if either of you have watched The Prophet on CNBC. Kind of the same concept. A guy had that where it was a screen printing shop, and then he had a basketball gym in there, and he had a pizza parlor, and he had all this in there, and he did not know his numbers, and it did not work out well for him. But if you know your numbers, yeah, it'll be good. Well, those training facilities, if you can do them right, there is money to be made in it all the way around.
Yeah, I agree, and I do love that show, The Prophet. So our listeners, if you haven't watched that one, that's a fun business show. Everybody knows about Shark Tank, but I find that people don't know about that show, and it's a really good one.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, hey, thank you so much for coming on and spending an hour on a Friday afternoon before Easter with me. I know our listeners certainly appreciate all the content that you're putting out there.
Well, thanks for having us, Josh.
Absolutely.
Good. For our listeners, we want to thank Todd and Aaron again for joining us and wish them much success as they look to help apparel decorators like you in our industry. We hope you found some ideas on today's show that not only inspired you, but will be practical and help you as you look to expand, grow, or launch your business. If you'd like to ask follow-up questions, just look for our show conversation thread over at our Heat Press for Profit Facebook group, where you can network and share ideas with thousands of businesses aiming to make a profit with a heat press just like you.